Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Changing Normal. Today, we're continuing our series on paperless law firms, part 3. And I'm very excited to have with me today Michael Pierson, the managing partner for Global Corporate at FisherBroyles. Michael, will you please introduce yourself?
Hi there. It's Michael Pierson here from FisherBroyles. Pleased to be with you today. I serve as head of the firm's global corporate practice, basically the entire corporate department across the firm's 23 different markets.
Awesome. So today we're going to be talking about FisherBroyles, which operates as a fully virtual law firm. So we're going to kick off with an introduction of FisherBroyles, and then talk about beyond virtual, how a virtual law firm operates differently, what connects these fully virtual partners as a firm, and the advantages of a fully virtual paperless big law firm. And then we'll wrap up with our top 10. So let me just stop sharing my screen here. Michael, could you talk a little bit more about the background of FisherBroyles and how it came to be this virtual law firm powerhouse?
Sure, happy to. So the firm is a 19-year overnight success, as two of our founding partners like to say. We began in 2001, 2002 in response to the dot-com bubble bursting. We've now weathered, it looks like, 2 recessions, and the firm grew from 2 partners in Atlanta to now over 270 partners operating in 23 global markets, including London. We're a large full-service U.S. law firm with every practice area underneath U.S. law, now full English corporate law capability in London, and we're attracting new partners almost on a daily basis. The coronavirus pandemic has certainly accelerated our recruitment efforts, and it's certainly accelerated other partners' interests in the law firm generally, basically because everyone right now is practicing law remotely. So whether you're at an AmLaw 50 firm or an AmLaw 200 firm, we're all essentially operating in the same capacity right now. We're using technology to deliver legal services to our clients, and we are connecting internally as partners and as lawyers inside law firms using technology as well, video conferences and document management systems. And so I think now that process has been demystified in terms of, can you actually continue to practice law at the highest level of the profession while working remotely? I think now unequivocally the answer is yes. And that's certainly been good for our business.
I bet. Was it strange over the past few months to watch as all these firms kind of grappled with how to go virtual and how to make sure everyone had what they needed to work from home, knowing that you guys kind of already had this all figured out?
It was quite strange, and actually I had a data point. I'm actually working from my country house. I normally live in New York City, but we're about 2.5 hours north of the city right now, and one of my neighbors up here in the country works for a very well-known white shoe law firm in New York City. And I saw how he was grappling with how to manage his teams, also manage a very large corporate department in New York as well. And if you don't have a culture that's built around remote working, it's very, very difficult to spin it up and to really decide to pivot on day one of the pandemic, for instance, that you're going to be able to operate in the same manner as possible. So it really does require a culture of remote working and what that means, and embracing it, understanding that we're all adults and people dial into conference calls and do what they say they're going to do, is really at the heart of a remote working culture. And certainly it was a little bit alarming to see just how difficult it was for many of our counterparties actually to embrace the concept of working remotely.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, but probably very often you all are going up against law firms that are operating with the traditional infrastructure, and it must have been interesting to see that firsthand as that transition took place.
Yeah, that's right. Normally you're operating in some sort of remote fashion almost all the time, right? You're traveling to see clients, you're flying across the country, across the globe, but you're always touching base with people who are physically sitting in those offices. And I think that provides a certain amount of comfort. I think the moment that everyone is dispersed and you're operating on a completely distributed environment, that's when it really shakes traditional law firms to the core. Whereas for us, we've been operating like this for the last 19 years. So, we're very used to, dialing in from wherever we are, from sitting with the clients, from, sitting in home offices, from doing conference calls from airport lounges and the like. So for us, it was business as usual.
Awesome. So what are some of the other ways that your firm operates differently, looking beyond the virtual aspect of it? For example, in terms of how you all bring on technology, and the makeup of the people who work at the firm.
Yeah. Well, I think when you remove the walls, there is no ceiling, which is kind of a saying that we like to say in the firm, which basically means that we're a pure meritocracy, right? It doesn't matter your race, color, creed, sexual orientation, etc. This is really a model that is built for anyone to succeed in. Our compensation model is purely an eat what you kill environment. So if you have a 7-figure book of business under our model, you'll receive 80% of that in your partnership draw. So what this does is it really allows partners who don't necessarily operate well in a traditional environment historically to really thrive on the basis of, how well are you delivering services to your clients? How many clients can you get and how long can you keep them? So our firm, I would say, as one of the most diverse partnerships of the AmLaw 200. Around 1/3 of our partners are Black, partners of color, women, LGBTQ. So really the ability to work flexibly, I think, is advantageous for a variety of reasons. One, it removes unnecessary overhead for the partnership, right? So we don't have partnership capital calls to support expensive leases and the like. We pass that savings along to our clients. And at the end of the day, we as lawyers actually earn more than we did in traditional law firm practices.
And am I right that you all just have partners? You don't bring on associates either, right?
Yeah, we don't formally bring on associates. However, oftentimes there are groups of partners who will join us that have more, I would say, mid to senior level associates. And we offer the ability for those lawyers to work well within our structure as well. We usually designate them as counsel, and then the partners are individually responsible for their compensation.
Gotcha. And in terms of bringing on technology, I found it interesting that you all also, while you may have group rates, you kind of leave that to the individual partners as well to decide what technology helps them deliver their services best.
That's right. So, I mean, there's a basic suite of technology that the firm has, across the partnership, right? And it's generally, timekeeping and accounting and invoicing and the software and technology that's generally applicable to the entire partnership. So that's a baseline. But then the way we're really different as compared with other traditional law firms is that we in the corporate department don't necessarily subsidize the docketing software that the intellectual property lawyers might use, or the Lexis and Westlaw subscriptions that the litigation department might use. And so we're very different in that our partners absorb the cost of that technology individually if it's necessary for their practice. If the clients have demanded it, we enable those partners to go out and make those technology choices for themselves. So, if the M&A group wants to try a new technology for deal software, we're absolutely open to that. We try to negotiate rates for those groups, but we really do leave those decisions up to the individual partners.
Makes sense. So what are the things that bring all of you together as one firm? What are the things that you all do that you would say, make you a firm versus a collection of individual people practicing law?
Sure. Well, at the outset, we are all partners, right? We've all signed the same limited liability partnership agreement. So under the law, we are partners. Practically speaking, we operate as partners in the same way that we operated in the traditional law firms from which we all came. So that means monthly department meetings, weekly practice group meetings. I'm on the phone with my partners probably 12 to 14 hours a day servicing clients. There's a centralized document management system, the same that I had at the global law firm where I trained. We have a centralized accounting and admin and marketing staff and centralized conflicts lawyers. So under the hood, we look and feel like any other large global law firm. It's just the way that we physically interact with one another is typically like this, right? Right now we're on Zoom calls a lot. We have conference calls. We turn documents the same way that we did at our other firms. Usually, however, we do have a partnership retreat where everyone flies in together for 3 days of meetings and networking and dinners. That unfortunately had to be canceled this year. And it looks like our fall networking event will also be canceled given the coronavirus pandemic uptick. So we do physically see each other several times a year. And then on an office by office basis, we get together for happy hours. We interview new partner candidates. We go on client pitches together. I had to represent a client in California last summer. So I was there with 5 partners doing witness prep and interview prep. And then of course, representing the client in court physically. So from that perspective, we are very much like a traditional law firm. The only difference is that we don't see each other on a daily basis.
Makes total sense. So what do you like best? Like, what do you find to be the biggest advantage working at a virtual firm?
Yeah, it's the flexibility of your schedule, right? So normally I live in Tribeca in Lower Manhattan, and if I had to commute to our serviced office at 445 Park Avenue, which is Park and 57th, that's a 45-minute commute for me on the subway, just going uptown from Lower Manhattan. So I'm at least saving an hour and a half each day in commuting time. It's an hour and a half that I can be profitable and productive for my clients. So from that perspective, it's really the ability for me to wake up, have my coffee, walk the dog, run, do whatever I need to do, and then start work right away. That's the most obvious difference. I think the not so obvious difference is that you can really decide how to tailor your practice, right? Because the firm doesn't mandate who you work with, which clients you work on. It really does free you up to have the kind of practice that you want to have. If you want to only work on clients that you brought to the firm and service them just as a sole partner, you're absolutely welcome to do that. If you're more multidisciplinary in your approach and you like to include tax lawyers and employment counsel and you've got litigation matters and you bring on an IP portfolio of assets, you can also do that. There's enough, I would say, diversity in the partnership for how you want to practice. So there's really something for everyone. And we have the resources to service the largest clients in America. For instance, we serve as IP counsel to one of the largest technology companies in the world, down to the small emerging company that's just taking its first round of financing. So from that perspective, it's very flexible, not only for our clients, but for our partners and how they want to practice.
That's fantastic. All right, well, we've got 10 minutes left here, so I want to go ahead and jump into our top 10. So I'm going to bring up these slides again. So you came up with a great list of top 10 ways to be successful at a virtual/paperless law firm. So we got about a minute each. Let's kick off with be active/social.
Okay. So what I mean by being active and being social is getting out there and using your internal network, right? So in our firm, you're incentivized for sharing work and you're incentivized for doing work for others. But people only know about you and your practice and your capability if you're out there and you tell people about it. So that's what I mean by being active in the partnership and being social. It really is, you get as much out of it as you put in. So if you're out there, your face is in front of the partnership, you're well known as the expert in your area, you're going to be highly successful, particularly in a firm like ours. We give 32% origination credit for any client you bring to the firm. And we get 48% of all the collected revenue for any client that we work on at the firm. So we have a formulaic compensation model that encourages us to be social.
That's great. And I'm sure requires that little bit of extra effort when you're not just walking down the hallway.
That's right.
Number 9, be a good firm citizen.
Yeah, good firm citizen. I mean, this sort of goes without saying, but when you basically treat other people the way you want to be treated, and you uphold the values of the partnership and the firm, that goes a long way, right? Not only in terms of integrity, but also in terms of people realizing that you're going to do well by their clients and well by your fellow partners. So being a good firm citizen means a variety of things. It's participating in the partnership. It's interacting with other partners who can service your client needs. And it's raising your hand when you see something that might be wrong, right? One of the hallmarks of the legal profession is not just that we're zealous advocates for our clients, but also that we're upholding the standards of the profession, right? And so being a good lawyer and being an honorable lawyer and upholding the terms of our various oaths that we've taken to our various bars means that you have to uphold those ideals on a daily basis. And that extends to being a citizen in the firm as well.
Absolutely. And I think that leads into number 8, which is do what you say you're going to do.
Yes, absolutely. So obviously one of the advantages of being in a global law firm and being able to rely on 270 other partners and 160 staff members is that we're all here to support each other, right? That means that if I bring on a partner to help service a client on a matter, I can take a vacation and I know that I can rely on the other person to take up the slack when I'm gone. I know that when someone says they're going to turn a document by 11 p.m. that night, it will be done. So I think, yes, number 8 does tie in with number 9. It's when you say you're going to do what you're going to do and then you do it, it really instills confidence throughout the firm. And that way we know that we can rely on one another, and therefore our clients are actually benefiting from that philosophy and practice as well.
Absolutely. Number 7, love this one. Have fun.
Have fun. Right. So we have partnership retreats. We have holiday parties. We have, happy hours. We as partners really genuinely like to see one another. Right. And my first partnership retreat for the firm was at the Stein Erikson Lodge in Deer Valley in Utah. And we took over the entire hotel and everyone flew in. And it was one of the first times I can recall being genuinely excited to spend 3 days with people that I work with on a daily basis. And it's not to denigrate my former colleagues. I mean, I had a great experience everywhere I trained, but it means that there's this palpable sense of when you play together, you work well together as well. And so that's what I mean about having fun. So leaving work aside, going out, getting to know your partners, getting to know their spouses, getting to know their children, getting to know what they do when they're not at work. And part of having fun, I think, is about bonding and understanding what makes each other tick. And I think when you have fun together, it really translates well in a collegial sense of the partnership.
For sure. Number 6, be open to new experiences.
Yeah, this is really important as well. Not only in terms of the law firm and practice of law, but also I think for life. When you're open to new experiences, just by showing up and just by saying, yes, I don't necessarily know what I think of something or whether I have experience that's directly on point. But what you find is the moment that you say yes, that you're open to taking on the new client or joining a team, I think you quickly realize that you have this huge breadth and depth of experience upon which to draw from, and it serves you well. And I know that the classic adage is, you miss 100% of the shots that you never take. And I think that's directly applicable here, right? If you don't say yes, you're going to miss out, and then you never know what you're missing out on.
Absolutely. Number 5, be respectful.
Yes, be respectful. First and foremost, we're all humans. And part of that means respecting our collective humanity. So respecting people's boundaries, respecting people's time, being respectful of them in communications. I think it goes a long way. I think being polite is a form of being respectful. I think manners put people at ease. I think that when you're respectful in the partnership, it breeds a sense of continuity in terms of the standards of etiquette and standards of behavior that are acceptable amongst fellow law partners. And I think it's really important. We all have different skills, we all have different sets of skill sets that we're bringing to the partnership, and those are all valued. All of our past life experiences, I think, are very valued. And when we acknowledge those and we respect what we're all bringing to the table, I think it breeds a very, very close collegial partnership.
Absolutely. Great advice for anybody, really. Number 4, be mindful of work-life balance.
Yes. And this is particularly challenging, not only for, partners in law firms, really at, anyone practicing law, right? The demands on our time, the advent of the BlackBerry, I think, blurred the lines of work-life balance in large part based on that technology. But for our firm in particular, in a remote environment where the balance or the separation between your work and your home life might just be one door, right? You might be leaving your home office and entering the dining room to have dinner with your family. It's very, very important to delineate, a start time, a stop time, whether you accept emails from colleagues on the weekend, of course, emergency situations always. But I think defining what that means for you is very important, and communicating it to the rest of the partnership as well. Certainly, I'm not necessarily the poster child for work-life balance. I think in a lot of ways, being a managing partner of a firm is challenging because people in different time zones and a lot of different varying demands. But it is important to set those boundaries and try to communicate them to your colleagues.
For sure. Well, since we're getting short on time, I'm going to throw up these last 3. I think you've touched on them from various respects and give you the last words here.
Okay.
We have number 3, embrace entrepreneurial mindset. Number 2, evangelize. And number 1, just say yes, which I think you use those exact words with one of the earlier ones.
Right.
So I'll hand it over to you to go through these, and thank you.
Great. Yeah, and I think in many ways, these top 3 really do go together. You have to have an entrepreneurial mindset, right? We're a collection of partners, all rowing the same boat, all working on the same client matters, and trying to do the best thing we can for each other and also for the client. At the end of the day, we're each also individual little startups, right? We're out there trying to get big clients. We're out there trying to be leaders in the field. We're out there trying to write articles and trying to be, thought leaders on different practice areas. So you've got to embrace that startup mindset in order to be successful in any law firm practice, really. The days of clients staying with the same firm for 50 years, I think, are gone. Clients go with lawyers. And that means that all clients are potential new clients of the firm. And when you're out there with that entrepreneurial mindset, that sort of entrepreneurial hustle, as they would say in the startup world for many of the clients, many of the emerging companies that we represent is certainly true. And part of the way, I think, to segue into the next point is that you got to evangelize your practice, right? If you don't believe in the firm where you're practicing, you don't believe in your practice, you don't believe in yourself, no one's going to believe in you. And that's what I mean when I say evangelize. It really is about saying, I found a better way to practice. Not only am I happier, but my clients are happier. Maybe my family's even happier. We've certainly seen instances of that in the firm where partners have said, Mommy, why didn't you join this firm, 5 years ago? I love being able to see you for dinner. Spouses that say, thank you so much for allowing my husband or wife to work at this firm because it's changed our lives. We can go on vacation. Even though they might dial in and do work for vacation, it still is a much better quality of life for the firms. And I would say that clients really respond to that positive energy too. If they know that you're happy and you're engaged as a lawyer, I think happier lawyers make for better lawyers. And so in terms of the last point, just say yes. I think that is obviously generally applicable to life, as we discussed in terms of number 6, being open to new experiences. But just say yes. Just say yes to your partners. Say yes to your clients. Say yes to new experiences. Say yes to your family. And I think being open and evangelizing and having that entrepreneurial mindset necessitates the saying of yes. And so saying yes with boundaries, of course, but really just showing up for life and showing up for your clients and your fellow partners.
Well, I don't think we could wrap up with better words than that. That's a wonderful sentiment and absolutely true. And I hope people take it to heart. Michael, thank you so much for joining me today and talking about FisherBroyles and how you make virtual and paperless work. We really appreciate it.
Excellent. It was a pleasure to be with you.
Thanks. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.